I know. She's Beatrice. Uh-oh. That name was mentioned at the very beginning when Mr. Absinthe was like, he said he wanted to see her once more. Didn't he call her a witch? What? Beatrice? I guess you pronounce it Beatrice. Oh, okay, yeah, she's a witch. Didn't you ever hear stories about her long ago? Witch. You mean, the witch of this island? I think I already said this, but Rokkenjima is a small island, only 10 kilometers in circumference. However, that's actually pretty massive, considering that only the Ushiromiya family lives here. So only the harbor and the area around the mansion were set up to be lived in. Beyond that, the island remained as untouched as when it was uninhabited. The vast and empty forest had absolutely no lights, phones, or people passing through. To understand how dangerous that is, you need to forget your common sense as a city dweller. After all, if you happen to fall down a hole in the depth of the forest and sprain your ankle, no one would come save you, no matter how much you cried or screamed. Then, once the sun went down, the forest would be wrapped in complete darkness, since there were no streetlights. And since there were no signs, it'd be easy to get lost and confused, losing your sense of direction inside that dark forest. Nowadays, most people see a forest as a peaceful place, but to the people of bygone eras, before the light of civilization drove out the night, forests were as geographically separated from civilization as the sea. They were oceans above the ground. Fishermen who go out into the ocean are putting their lives at risk despite their technical knowledge. In the same way, hunters who go out to the forest are in danger despite having specialized knowledge of their own. Beatrice katakana is Beatrice. Beatrice? Beatrice? I'm just gonna say Beatrice. If children were to go play in such a dangerous forest, something terrible might happen. Someone's parents must have thought so. Maybe grandmother first said it, or maybe it was grandfather himself. Or perhaps this story has been passed down on this island since ancient times. There's a terrible witch in the forest, so you must not go in. At some point, this ghost story of Rokkenjima was born. This is the legend of Rokkenjima's witch. That's why when we talk about a witch on this island, we're referring to the master of that vast and savage forest. Come to think of it, when I stayed at this mansion as a little kid, during those eerie nights when the wind and rain pounded on the windows, I remember being terrified by a story of the forest witch who roamed around searching for human sacrifices. Man, that reminds me again of what I mentioned towards the end of last stream of my uncle, who actually had like a farm kind of house in the middle of the forest. It was exactly like that when we stayed there at night. It was really eerie, but in a really cool way. I really like that. So, Beatrice, huh? When Aniki mentioned it, I searched my memory and was sure I recalled hearing a name like that when I was little. I see. Still, I totally forgot that the witch in that legend had an elegant name like Beatrice. So, did grandfather go out of his way to have a portrait made just because we grandchildren didn't believe the story? She's the witch from grandfather's delusions. Ever since he had this picture hanged, he's been having a harder and harder time telling the difference between truth and fantasy. To us, she's just a witch that exists in grandfather's mind, but to him she's a being that exists on this island. Exists. He says he had that painting made because the rest of us would be incapable of understanding otherwise. Yeah, I'm beginning to think that maybe it's not just fantasy. The whole thing is creepy as hell.
Milady, this portrait is precious to the master. I beg of you, do not say such things in front of him.
I know. Even if you didn't tell me, I'd never do something like that. I'm not stupid. Jessica glanced at the portrait with an irritated gaze before turning away. Junie Bjorn. Let's go. We're making everyone wait in the dining room. I'm hungry. Only a small portion of this island was controlled by the Ushiromiya family. All of the lawless remainder was the domain of the witch Beatrice. You might even call her the true ruler of Rokkenjima. Kinda getting scared of her here, thank you. I felt a faint revival of that unsettling sense of misfortune, which I'd felt when I learned of the tutelary god's shrine being struck by lightning. And I remembered that Kumasawa-san tried to tell an ominous story about Rokkenjima before Jessica stopped her. I don't know what she was planning to tell us about this island, but I do know one thing. It isn't the Ushiromiya family that rules Rokkenjima. It's the witch, Beatrice. That's right. After all, this is the witch's island. Battler!
Oh, you're slow.
When I looked around, everyone was already heading towards the dining room. I hurriedly chased after them. Ich hoffe, man hört meine Nase nicht so sehr im Stream. Ich merke nur gerade, wenn ich durch die Nase einatme, dann kratzt es nicht so im Hals. Und das ist, dann muss ich nicht so viel husten. Entschuldigung. We walked up to the huge double doors that led to the dining room. Genji-san knocked.
I have brought the children for the sacrifice. Oh, for the please pardon the intrusion.
The doors were opened and we were invited inside. Wow. The dining room, which looked exactly like you'd imagine a rich person's dining room to be, had a super long table that was obviously positioned with no purpose other than to make the guests conscious of their rank. Our parents were already sitting in accordance with that ordering.
You're late, brats. Hurry up and take a seat.
The old bastard pressed us to sit. The only gaps in that group of people were the spots we were supposed to sit, which only made us feel our tardiness all the more. The seat at the head of the table, called the incipient's chair, was for the most highly ranked, reserved for grandfather. Oh, he's probably gonna make a grand entrance or something.
Bitches, I'm here.
Oh, probably not like that though. It was still empty. He probably wanted to show a blast for dramatic. Yeah, see, that's what I was about to. That's what I meant. Wanted to show a blast for dramatic effect. From the perspective of someone facing the incipient's chair. Exactly. I just had to chuckle myself because I remembered Fresh Dumbledore. It's a German YouTuber who does very good Harry Potter parodies. And she invented Fresh Dumbledore. Which is hilarious as fuck, but it's in German. I can't stop thinking of Fresh Dumbledore now. Okay. From the perspective of someone facing the incipient's chair head on, the seating order went from left to right, with the lower ranking seats progressing in rows of two further away from it. So the left-hand side of the first row, closest to the incipients, I don't know, how do you... I've just learned something incredible. Yeah, check out Fresh Dumbledore later. It's really dumb, but it makes me laugh. So the left-hand side of the first row, closest to the chair, was where Uncle Klaus should have sat, since he was the second highest in rank. What is incipient? What exactly is that? I haven't heard of that word before. It looked like he hadn't arrived yet, so that seat was empty. Across from his chair, on the right side of the first row, sat the eldest daughter of the family, Aunt Eva, who was the third highest in rank. The left-hand side of the second row was for the fourth highest in rank. There sat my damn dad, Rudolph, the third of the siblings. Across from him, on the right side of the second row, sat Aunt Rosa, the youngest sibling. At this point, you might expect their husbands and wives to come next. But nope, the left-hand seat in the third row, rank number 6, belonged to Jessica. Opposite her was George Aniki. I sat next to Jessica, and Maria sat across from me. Then finally next to me on the left-hand side of the fifth row sat Aunt Natsuhi, the 10th highest in rank. Opposite her was Uncle Hideyoshi. Next to Aunt Natsuhi, in the 6th row and the final seat on the left-hand side, sat Kiryu-san. The seat opposite to Kiryu-san was empty, even though silverware had been set there and everything. According to this ranking system, that spot was where Aunt Rosa's husband should be sitting. Even though he wasn't supposed to be coming, his place was made up. What do you mean? He wasn't supposed to be coming? Wasn't it like they didn't even know who he was? Her father's identity is unknown, yeah. Normally, ranking systems of this sort give spouses equal positions as their partners, but the Ushiromiya family system was unique. Maybe it's a remnant of male chauvinism. If you start with the assumption that a woman's womb is just something to be borrowed, then the children of direct descent would come first, directly followed by the grandchildren. In other words, spouses have no blood ties and are therefore placed at the end of the line. I guess that makes sense if you view it that way. It's terrible, but by this system, my grandmother would be ranked even lower than me if she were still alive. In their youth, they obeyed their father. After they get married, their husband. After aging, their children. There's the old saying, women have no home in any realm. Long ago, when I was still incapable of figuring all this out, I thought it was so great that we could all chat in our little groups, adult siblings with adult siblings, and cousins with cousins. However, now that I can re-examine the seating order after growing up a bit, it stirs up some very complicated feelings in me. Aunt Natsuhi, who was married to the eldest son and was the de facto number 2 in managing this family, sat to my right, which meant that she was 2 steps lower than me in the ranking order. It was hard to imagine what might be going on inside her heart. That's why I made a small apologetic gesture towards her before sitting down. "How nice to see you, Bad Luck-kun. You've grown quite tall, haven't you?" "Oh, yeah. 6 long years of eating well, sampling various cuisines, and deriving sustenance from Mother Earth's bountiful gifts. Hard work, but I pulled through." "Growing just like a boy, I see. How tall are you now?" "I guess about 180 centimeters, but Aunt Natsuhi, that's where you're supposed to say, heck, sounds like all you did was eat." "Huh? Oh, I'm sorry." After a short pause, she did laugh with me, but it seems she couldn't quite figure out what she was supposed to be laughing at. This woman is Aunt Natsuhi. She's the wife of the eldest son of the family, meaning she's my father's older brother's wife. She was like, I think, yeah, she's up here. Wife of Klaus. She manages the household of the Ushiromiya head family in place of her husband, who takes little interest in such matters. What a douche. She was in charge of all preparations and arrangements for the scam family conference. She possesses a strong sense of responsibility and a great deal of pride. However, neither her husband nor his siblings understand her very well, so her position is far from enviable. Yeah, I feel a bit sorry for her now. Is it simpler if I just call her Jessica's mother? It feels bad to say it like this, but while I didn't exactly dislike her, I didn't particularly like her either. She hardly ever spoke with us kids, and all my memories of her involve her talking to the adults about complicated things with a scary look on her face. In fact, since we hardly ever exchanged words, I spent a long time trying to figure out how I should approach her, though my effort seems to have ended in failure. The silverware sat neatly on the table, but the meal itself hadn't been brought in yet. As a general rule, you couldn't start a meal until the person sitting at the head of the table arrived. So as long as the grandfather didn't come, lunch would be put on hold indefinitely. What if he just collapsed right now and he's fucking dead, and nobody knows, and then I'll just sit there for hours waiting like idiots, until Genji realizes it. Not even the appetizers would arrive. Oh, but they said he has 3 more months. Simply put, the silence in this room was caused by our parents enduring their hunger while they waited for grandfather to arrive. However, the grandfather from my memories would always show up on time to meals like this. He was the kind of person who would never be so late that it kept everyone waiting, especially after the entire group had arrived. Grandfather's pretty late. As far as I can remember, he was always strict about time. Well, that might have been true 6 years ago, but it hasn't been that way lately. In fact, he's off in his own little world so often that he doesn't even show up at family meals. Still, I figure he'd at least come down today. Then again, I feel a lot more relaxed and happy without him. Yeah, but they just said it can't start without him. Jessica! When her mother scolded her, Jessica stuck her tongue out and looked away. No way around it. Might as well wait until our host arrives. When I glanced at the clock, I saw that it was almost 12:20. 6 hours later. Can they order a pizza? Order it to the island, that might probably take just as long. Ah, there he is. Oshiromiya Kinzo. The aged family head of the Oshiromiya head family. No Lieferando on Rock Kenjima. What a bummer. This man could be seen in his study. The clock had already passed noon, but he didn't even attempt to rise from his seat. With his spectacles on, he built up a growing pile of books with elaborate bindings, which he then read intently. Wait, so everybody's waiting for him so they can start eating, and he's just there reading books. You couldn't really say that he was having too much fun to stop. Rather, he filled the room with a sense of impatience, or perhaps a sense of impending danger, as though every second wasted was a tragedy. In this sealed room, a dense dust danced through the air, which was thick with a stench of chemicals that exuded a mix of suspicious odors. Those odors were somehow sweet and heavy. If anyone with a normal nose came in here, the first thing they'd do would be to open a window and ventilate this room. The knocking against the study door had been going on for a while. A voice calling father sometimes mingled with the knocks. I wonder who's knocking. As Kinzo heaved a deep sigh, he snapped shut the old book in his hands and slammed it on the table. Then he yelled at Klaus. Okay, it's Klaus, who was still knocking on the door.
Silence! Enough with that racket, you fool! Who told you the door would be open if you but knocked? I'll crucify the imbecile. Do you wish to suffer the same fate?
Okay, I don't know what Klaus looks like, so I'm not gonna give him a certain voice yet. Father, this is the day of the family conference, which happens only once a year, is it not? Everyone is gathered down below. Please come out. Klaus called out to his father through the door. Kinzo always shut himself up in the study, hating it when nearly anyone, even his family, entered the room. For that reason, Klaus had no choice but to call to him from the corridor like this. Father, we've been waiting for 6 hours, we're kinda hungry.
Molest me not. Just who is this everyone of which you speak? Do you mean the fools trying to drag me out of here? Then kill them all. Tear them apart, use their bodies for firewood, and feed them into the witch's hearth.
I forgot what voice I gave him last time. Not quite happy about the voice I'm giving him right now, but my throat is still not good enough to do more.
Put a pot in that hearth to boil the warm wood. Force the imbeciles who dare try to lure me out of here to drink the broth of the apocalypse. I will soak the dregs in liquor.
He's gone bananas.
Where is Genji? Call for Genji. Have my demonic absinthe.
Yeah, so it was absent, okay.
Absinthe prepared. The whispering of the green fairy reaches me no longer.
I'm not sure if he should join dinner. He sounds a bit, besides himself.
Where is Genji? Bring him here.
On the other side of the door, Klaus, Nanjo, and Genji kept waiting for the master of the house, who stubbornly refused to come out. Are they sure it was 3 more months, or maybe just 3 more days? That's Klaus? He has kind of female eyes.
Looks like he hates me to the core.
Not sure what voice to give him.
My voice doesn't reach him anymore.
Klaus shrugged as though saying it's no use and smiled bitterly. Probably have to hear some more of his lines and his personality. From the beginning, he hadn't really expected his father to respond to his calls. However, since it was the duty of the eldest son, he had tried as a formality.
Kinzo-san, your sons, daughters, and grandchildren have come to see you, have they not? Could you just let them see your face, if only for a short while? Shut up, be silent. You dare to admonish me, Nanjo. I never told anyone to get you. I told them to get Genji. Now call for him immediately. Time is short, and the apostles are already readying their trumpets.
Lord, yeah, I think Christian is right. He's gone bananas.
So why can't you foolish sheep understand?
Kinzo slammed an old heavy book against the table over and over. That racket clearly expressed his greatest pleasure. Kinzo put his spectacles down and flew up from his chair. He spread his arms wide open as if to sing to a packed opera house, as if appealing to someone, and yelled,
Why? Why is there always something in my way? I would throw it all away, I would offer up everything, and there is only one thing I ask in repayment. Oh, Beatrice, if I could see your smile but one more time, I would plunder the smiles of the earth and offer them all up to you. Oh, commanders of the legions of locusts, reap the smiles of the earth. Oh, everything is filthy, everything is irksome.
He's just like Gendo.
Why must I suffer this impediment in this most precious of days?
Hey, he just sounds like me last week.
Call for Genji!
I have no idea what he's yelling about. He's probably lost his mind by now.
Close, son. Isn't this a bit harsh to say such a thing of your own father?
My father's already dead. There's nothing here but a phantom of what father once was. At any rate, as long as he has no intention of coming out, there's nothing we can do.
Kinzo-san.
Sulking coughs continued to pour from the study. Yeah, maybe... I'm about 99.9% sure right now, at this point, that it would be a great idea to not have him join lunch. I'm going back downstairs. It would be a waste to let the fruits of Goda's prized cooking talent get any colder. It's one of the few things our relatives can look forward to when they come to this house. Klaus spun around. He looked at his watch, mumbling and acting as though he had wasted time doing something he knew would be in vain. Well, I mean, because he did. Genji-san, father's calling for you. Keep him company.
Certainly.
Dr. Nanjo, let's go eat. If we stay here any longer, the sweet stench will ruin our sense of taste. Genji, yeah, I mean, you might be joking, but I could pretty much imagine that's why he's calling for Genji. Without waiting for Nanjo, Klaus went downstairs. Genji urged Nanjo to go and eat. Nanjo glanced between the study door and Klaus's back as the latter disappeared down the stairs, then let out a deep sigh.
Sorry, Genji-san, but please allow me to leave this in your hands. Yes, please leave it to me. Do what you can to avoid giving him alcohol.
Yeah, about that. I'm pretty sure that's unavoidable.
That's a habit that's far too difficult to break. Is Genji not here yet? Who dares keep Genji from coming? Oh, where's Genji? Call for Genji. Please allow me to handle the situation here. Very well. Forgive me.
Nanjo bowed slightly and descended the stairs. Genji watched him leave, then knocked on the study door.
Master, it is Genji. Genji, why have you kept me waiting so long? You're alone, I trust. Correct. I am alone.
Kinzo returned to his seat in the study and pressed an old-fashioned switch on the table. After a small delay, the heavy sound of the door unlocking could be heard. Kinzo was convinced that his family wanted to make a mess of his study. Or perhaps someone had once opened the window for some air and ended up scattering things that to him were important research materials, leaving him in a terrible mood. Kinzo had outfitted his room with a formidable lock, preventing anyone from entering without his permission and thereby sealing himself in a jail of his own making. Genji, whom he trusted the most, was relatively free to enter the room, but even that didn't always hold. If Kinzo wasn't in a bad mood, even Genji wouldn't be able to enter. Anyone else would be limited to holding a conversation through the door, unable to even see Kinzo's face. And most of the time, what they got could hardly be called to conversation. However, this didn't trouble the rest of the family much. After all, it just wasn't worth the effort to disturb this aging family head, who was impossible to please and always stayed shut away, immersed in his research. Ja, ich meine, wenn sich die ganze Zeit da oben einschließt, kann ich mir vorstellen, dass irgendwann keiner mehr Bock hat und sich alle eher denken, gut, dass der die ganze Zeit da oben sitzt. Taking advantage of his refusal to leave his room, they supported his isolation, Zisa putting his care entirely into the hands of the servants.
Genji, my usual. I'm busy. Yes, sir.
Genji headed to a corner of the study. There, suspicious-looking bottles boasting venomous colors were on display. They were actually liquor, but considering the shady atmosphere of this room, one might easily suspect them of being some ghastly poison. Your Peter. Inside the study, the mysterious collection of books gathered by Kinzo had grown to a mountain. They were bizarre ancient or banned books. All of them either forbidden, cursed, or sealed, or everything at once, I suppose. But if you try to call them old books, Kinzo would fly into a rage and say,
"Call them grimoires."
There were also many mysterious objects that presumably held some meaning with regards to black magic, like candles suspiciously melted and molded into strange shapes. The constellations drawn on a certain celestial globe contained quite a few shapes that would draw puzzled looks from anyone familiar with today's night sky. The carelessly strewn about books contained many illustrations, all of them of a religious or mysterious nature, including some depicting demonically grotesque subjects or bizarre diagrams of various magic circles. And above all, a sweet poisonous smell filled the room, profoundly assaulting the eyes and noses of those who entered for the first time. Eventually, it must surely make a person go numb and lose their grip on reality, like we can see here with Kinzo. Inside that study, Genji prepared Kinzo's usual drink with a well-trained hand. No one would even think of drinking such an ominous dark green liquid in that complex and ornate glass, unless someone first told them it was alcohol. Now that you mention it, we had a certain professor at university, and she was a bit... I mean, she was nice and friendly if you got to know her, but she could be a bit scary. And I distinctly and clearly remember how Christian and I went there once, and there was a picture on the wall. It was like a kid had painted it, and it looked like a picture of the fucking devil. And she was sitting at her computer with her back turned to us, and we both looked at the picture and then looked at each other with like a what the fuck look, and then she said, "Do you like the picture?" even though she never turned around. So that was creepy. Yeah, well, I guess she liked me, but she could be a bit intimidating. And that stuff with the picture was that was super scary. Okay, let's continue. He poured a little into the glass. Then he placed a cube of sugar in a strangely shaped spoon and poured water from a pitcher over it. Strangely, when the transparent water was poured, the dark green liquid turned a cloudy white. It was a strange optical illusion, as though the water had caused a chemical reaction and made the drink become even more unrecognizable as liquor. Yeah, I'm sure you just imagined that, but who knows? Then Genji added original flavors Kinzo loved, fine-tuning its taste. There was no recipe. Its success was measured only by Kinzo's mood swings when he drank it, and it had taken Genji many decades to learn how to do it right. Genji placed the glass on a tray and walked over to Kinzo. By this time, Kinzo was gazing out the window.
"Here, master. Thank you."
Kinzo had regained his composure and was now unrecognizable as the shouting, screaming, yelling man from a few moments ago. Looking at this man from behind as he tilted his glass and gazed down at the scenery beyond the window, he projected a sense of dignity and intelligence. To allow Kinzo to set his glass down at any time, Genji motionlessly waited behind Kinzo and to his left, as though he were a living sideboard. Then, without averting his eyes from the window, Kinzo held out his glass. There was only a mouthful remaining. It was not a gesture intended to set it upon the tray, but a motion to hand the glass over to Genji.
"Drink, my friend. Your words are too kind for me. No need for ceremony between us. Drink, my friend." "Thank you.
Genji respectfully received the glass and inclined it a little to taste its contents. After that, he gulped it down.
I attempted to
Wer sagt denn das jetzt?
I attempted to imitate your concoction, but no matter how I try, I cannot replicate the taste. The way you make it is pure relish.
Ah, Kinzo.
Thank you very much. It is the fruit of your guidance, master.
Kinzo smiled at his loyal subject, who refused to put aside rank even when asked to. However, he was not making fun of him. His smile was relaxed, as though chuckling at a close friend's old, unshakable habit.
We have grown old together. I stopped counting the years long ago. It is entirely thanks to you, master, that I have been able to live like this until today.
Kinzo gave a faint smile, as if to say he didn't need any flattery.
Until now, you have served me exceedingly well. My sons call me eccentric.
Oh gee, I wonder why.
The servants that were once many have all quit in fear of me. Only you serve me even now. Your words are more than I deserve. My life will not last much longer. My sons are vultures, lazily waiting for my inheritance to fall into their hands. Klaus is a fool who squanders money like water, who throws away 2 gold coins to obtain 1. And then he has the gall to claim that he's earned money. Eva is a slave to money who thinks of me as a mere chicken. When I die, she plans to use my bones to make a broth. The dude's Rudolph just wants to fool around with women. Rosa bore the baby of a man who came from nowhere and about whom we know nothing. Jessica is incompetent and uneducated. George has none of what it takes to be a man. Peddler is a fool who threw away the honor of the Ushiromiya family. And Maria is obscene to the eye. Why is the Ushiromiya blood so incompetent? Is there no one worthy to inherit the glory I built? Oh, of course I know. This is part of Beatrice's curse. I know it.
He really likes his family, yeah. See, I was not exactly wrong with what I predicted for this evening. He's just not telling it to our face.
You golden witch, are you trying to take revenge against me in this way? If you want to hate me, then do so. If you want to run away, then run. I won't let you go. I won't let you go. Won't let you go. Won't let you go. You belong to me. You must always be in my arms for all my life. You must stay in my birdcage for all eternity, whispering only to me. Beatrice, why won't you smile back at me? Oh, Beatrice.
After howling, Kinzo choked once again. Genji set the tray and glass down and rubbed his master's back. Genji's facial expression did not change. It was always like this.
Thank you, my friend.
When his seemingly deranged fit subsided, Kinzo regained his composure once again. It was like seeing 2 different people, a wild Kinzo and a composed Kinzo, living together inside one body.
And so, I have decided. I cannot bear to spend my dimmed remaining years procrastinating like this.
What do you mean, remaining years? Didn't they say 3 months?
If I have one final coin to bet, then I choose to abandon it to the whims of the demon's roulette.
Have a drink, sir. You've been sober for 10 minutes. Demon's roulette? What is that?
The power of magic is always determined by the risk of the gamble. Like visiting a shrine at the hour of the ox in ancient Japanese sorcery, to nail a cursed doll to a tree. Magical power is produced specifically because of the risk that it will be seen within the 7 days the curse takes.
Ah, okay. Also, das heißt, man nagelt so eine Fluchpuppe an einen Baum und der Fluch funktioniert nur, wenn sie in 7 Tagen niemand sieht. Sorry. Oh, moment.
The greater the risk, the stronger the magic power will be. Many miracles that happen in myth might be called the crystallization of shocking magic power, with a low probability of occurrence and an astronomical risk. That Moses parted the waters of the sea was not a miracle of God. The risk of that desperate situation, cornered by soldiers on the Red Sea's shores, weighed upon the scales of slaughter and gave birth to that miraculous magic power.
That's interesting.
If the same thing occurred again on the same scale, the sea would surely fail to part. After all, Moses was able to magnificently summon a miracle engraved on but one of the countless, innumerable results on the roulette of those with power. This is the force that can triumph over astronomical odds. Indeed, good fortune that can grasp miracles is magical power itself. To obtain this mighty power, one must face the risk of despair. Those who possess no magical power may call it desperation rather than a bet. However, people who truly do possess magic power can grasp hold of that miracle and make the enigma come into being. And if that power exists within me, I'll seize that miracle. I'll have a chance at making the wish I devoted my life towards come true.
Kinzo looked up to the sky outside the window. He spread his arms as if appealing to someone up in the skies.
If only I were capable of grasping that miracle. Oh, Beatrice, show me your lovely smile once more. No matter how much time passes, your face does not vanish. I just want to see your smile, that is all. I'll return everything you granted me. I'll return all the glory I'll gain since that day. I don't need fortune, prestige, or gold. I'll return everything you gave me. I just want to see your smile. I beg you, Beatrice. Oh.
Mann, deine Stimme macht mich echt kaputt. Normalerweise ist es auch nicht so schlimm, das kommt noch von der Erkältung. His nonsensical yells became a scream and then a wail. Kinzo slumped to the floor, tearing at it with both hands. Oh my god. Genji had no choice but to wordlessly watch over his master's lamentations. Oh?
Well, ladies and gentlemen, the family Had's health is not its best. You seem extremely sad not to be able to share lunch with you all now that you have gathered for this event that occurs but once a year.
Yeah, extremely sad is not exactly the way I would put what he did and said.
Gora, let lunch begin.
Certainly, I shall begin today's luncheon. Dr. Nanja, is father's condition really that bad? Couldn't he have at least let us see his face?
It's more a problem of mood than a physical condition, and for that there is no medicine I can prescribe. Hey, are we talking about his mood again? You've got to be kidding me. We took time out of our schedules during this damn busy autumn season just to come and find out how he's doing. And now he's... Then you should be happy, Rudolph. You now know how he's doing. Oh, what, would you rather hang up place and try to persuade our ill-human father to come join us? Are you kidding, man?
Rudolph shrugged. Apparently, though Rudolph was willing to be indignant at how self-centered his father was, he wasn't particularly disappointed to be spared a face-to-face meeting. He's extremely sad. Does it seem like his mood will improve before dinner, Klaus Nissan?
I have no idea. If you want to know that, you should ask him directly. Although I think his mood will improve faster if we don't bother him.
Genji-san's the only one who can get grandfather out of a funk with a shitload of alcohol. It's pretty pathetic, though, making the servants deal with your own parents' bad mood.
Jessica, don't speak out of turn.
She'd planned for her complaint to be heard only by her cousins, but it had reached even Klaus's ears. Scolded, Jessica scowled and turned away, sulking. If he's as cranky as they make him sound, he can't be that terribly sick, right? I mean, they're saying he's in a bad mood, not that he's got no energy, which at least proves he's got his wits about him. Yeah, I'm not sure I would say he's got his wits about him after all that just now. It's because grandfather has especially strong willpower. However, that doesn't necessarily mean his body will be able to keep up. Since last year, they keep saying that he has 3 months left. Since last year. Okay. If the initial diagnosis was correct, grandfather has been prolonging his life by willpower alone. is right for us to worry about him. Lunch started with the family head's seat still empty. The man who should be sitting there had already grown old, and the brilliant glory which had rebuilt the Yoshiromiya family in the span of a single lifetime was being forgotten. Even though they were beginning the meal with that seat still empty, no one felt it was that odd anymore. Oh. Halb zwei.